Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of The Intelligent Moron with Alex Silva. Last week, I believe it was Thursday morning, I had woken up to one of the most terrifying things in my life. I woke up to thunder, which is odd because it wasn't forecasted in the weather. But I woke up around like 5:30 in the morning to a loud boom that rocked my house, like made it like shake. And it was so loud that I thought that it was a bomb that had gone off, and I had heard it, and I was like in close proximity to the bomb, and it scared the hell out of me. I mean, I'm talking like I woke up and I was wide awake and I didn't know what was going on. I looked out the window and I couldn't see nothing, but it was wet on the sidewalk in the streets outside my house. But let me tell you this, man. What an insane way to be woken up and thunder that loud. I mean, man, I was probably right underneath the cloud that produced that thunder, because it was like there was not even a house above me. Like, I heard it so clear and so loud, and it had woken everybody up in the house. And like I said, it scared the hell out of me. What a rude awakening. You can only imagine my mind before I realized that it is thunder. I thought, terrorist attack, invasion, homemade bomb, something crazy, My mind went to like flight or fight mode. I was like curious, like, do I need to evacuate everybody in this house? Do we need to take shelter? Well, we don't really have shelter. We don't have no bunker, no basement, nothing around that I could think of. And I looked outside and I'm like, oh, it's fine. It's just the weather. And then I looked at the radar on my phone. Like, you can see like the precipitation clouds like in your area. And it gives you exact pinpoint location of where you are on the map. And right over my little location dot was a bright yellow blob, which indicates high precipitation if you're looking at it from an iPhone's perspective. And I was just like, of course, this tiny little scattered thunderstorm, which I don't even know how it even was created, but it was, just happened to roll through my area and wake my ass up. And I just was like, what in the hell is going on? It like I said, it happened last week. And I was just like, why me? Why, for what reason, am I being waken up a whole hour earlier than I'm supposed to, right? Ruined my day. I was exhausted for the rest of the day. And to that great extent of terrifying me and making me think the worst thing might have happened. I don't know why. But hey, that's the beauty of life. The randomness of life. I just was like, why me? Of all people, why am I being woken up this early? Stupid. But, honestly, a little eventful. You have a story to tell, and you can relate to it, and people were like, yeah, that happened to me too, which I got a lot during that day. I was like, yeah, me too. We're all in the same boat, And I to me, like, I feel like a lot of the times when you look at that weather app, it isn't the most accurate that it could possibly be, if I'm being honest. There's a lot of times where I find that app straight up lying to me. I don't even know how it does it, because it uses like GPS and like climate tracking technology. For some reason, is not that accurate. And it's just like, how are you not that accurate? How are you like not like the cream of the crop when it comes to that type of technology? What's crazy to think about is when you open up Google Maps or Apple Maps or whatever that may be, and let's say you just, you open it up and it shows your exact location, right? Your little dot. But then it has a little indicator on one side of the dot, which is where your phone is facing forward, which is usually where you're looking at, right? You're looking forward in the direction of the top of your phone. Boom. That's where you're looking. I remember before that that didn't even exist. That was not a factor in GPS like maybe 10 years ago, maybe even more. It was just a dot, and then that was it. There was no indication or no sense of direction where you were facing, so you couldn't really like map exactly which way you had to go. You had to look at the sun for that, northeast, south, and west, and kind of try to figure it out, where you were. It wasn't as easy as it was today. If you think about it, GPS is like one of the most revolutionary pieces of technology that we have ever created. Imagine if we didn't have any GPS, what would we do? We would use maps, the stars, the sun. We would go back to, you turn at the school, and then you make a right at the gym, and then you're going to hit the church where you make a roundabout or whatever, We would be using land markers as our directions, which is good and bad. Modern day, not so good, because we're so used to street names, avenues, streets, blocks, whatever way, expressway, I don't know, right? We're used to just street names, right? Modern day, it isn't really the best way to give direction if you say turn left at the store and then make a right after you hit the doctor's office or the hospital, right? It doesn't really come across us as modern day technology users as helpful. It makes it a little bit more harder, than it should, which is bad because now we have lost a sense of direction. As human beings, I think, a lot of us, the way we live is so cushioned. We have lost basic knowledge when it comes to direction and sense of where you are, whether it be in a city, town, or even on the road. We have lost our sense of where we are, our knowledge of where we're supposed to be, where we're supposed to be going to, which I think is actually very, very bad in terms of living in a society where we have to be multiple places in one day. Definitely not a good thing that has happened in our society. In fact, I think it just makes us stupider. We have all these technologies and applications and websites to better our understanding and to better our knowledge. First stuff, if you're not going to leave your house. But if you leave your house, that all kind of goes away. And then you're forced to interact with the real world. And in the real world, you're not going to always have those technologies up to speed, depending on where you're at. So GPS might not be so useful in the field if you don't have very good service or if you're by anywhere that has Wi-Fi. So at that point, all that technology is no longer really being useful to you or to anybody out there. Now, I'm not saying that we need to start reading maps more, but we should be able to kind of identify where we need to go, what streets should we be looking for, and throw in a couple landmarks. throwing a couple, things out there to help us navigate without the use of technology and the use of GPS. I think that would be beneficial to our species and our brains too. It's good to put ourselves in a situation where we got to think where we are and how to get from point A to point B. In the modern day of entertainment too, right? What do we do nowadays for entertainment? Do we watch or do we read? Well, we watch. We watch a lot more than we read. And when you watch, let's take this example as a movie, right? You watch a movie, you're watching it, you're being entertained, you're invested in the story and the characters and the plot and what's happening, what has to be shown. You're admiring the artist, the director, the writer who wrote this, directed this, shot this, and produced it and put it onto the screen. You're doing everything right with admiring the art and appreciating it, whether you like it or not, but that's about it. In a book, you're reading. So what are you doing? You're putting your brain to use by reading words, sentences, dialogue, descriptive passages, imagining what's being read, imagining the writing that's on the pages, putting your brain into a little bit more of a learning, exercising mode, and really challenging your brain to comprehend what's going on, imagining the scenario, imagining a scene, a scenery, the setting, the characters, and their motives, what they think. It's more engaging of the brain than watching a film is in all aspects. There is no argument to be made on that. So we went from reading to watching, Whether you like one or the other, that's up to you. But we can all agree, though, that our entertainment experience, our entertainment intake has gotten a little bit more brain dead in the future now than it was in the past. I mean, let's just be real. It happens all the time. And if you don't practice, if you don't read, right? If you don't take the time to read a story, let's say you have to do a job where you have to read something out, or read this to somebody, or just read it to yourself, and you're reading it and you're like, this is taking me a lot longer to read than I thought. I wonder why. Well, it's because you probably haven't read anything in a long time. Once you're out of school and you have a job and you're doing your job and that's your main focus now, making money, right? And now you have to read something for the first time in a long time, you're going to be like, whoa, this is weird. Or why is my brain hurt? Why do I have a headache? I'm trying to read all this stuff. You'll be like, well, I guess I better read more because I forgot how to read. Listen, man, been there, done that. For me, it was writing. I remember when I was younger, right, when we would, go to school and then have summer break and then come back the next year, I would pretty much forget how to write. Like, I would have to get back into the swing of things to get my handwriting at least better than what it was from the start of the year. Now, that would take about maybe a few days. It would come back. But that first day writing a bunch of stuff would be like, whoa, I cannot write at all, This is terrible. You have to, relearn the skill, which is something that you should be doing, you should just be keeping up with that stuff. Penmanship, reading, all that traditional stuff that you should all be able to do as a human being, right? That's what makes us human, is that we're smart and we have developed these skills like reading and writing. That way we don't sound stupid. That way we sound educated and formal, and that we know what we're talking about. If we're reading something out loud to a group of people, and we're stumbling on words or stumbling on, pronunciation and not knowing how to pronounce words and not knowing that this word means this, if they're asking you a question about this particular thing, then you're going to look like a silly fool. Look like you don't know what you're talking about, which, let's be honest, we've all kind of been there in that situation, and it's not fun. So we got to make sure that as a society, and I know it's all digital now, I know it's all easy now, I know that they're pushing AI on us. It seems like every single day. I mean, I just saw a commercial. It was about Apple iPhones and the technology in the new iPhone of summarizing an email, right? The premise is it has the actress from The Last of Us who plays Ellie. She is the actress playing herself. And then the other actress, aside of her, is playing her agent. You know, they're meeting in like a coffee shop or like a park or something like that to discuss, or a cafe, to discuss a role that she's going to be up for. And that, you know, she wants to see if it'll be something that she's interested in. The agent is talking to Ellie from Last of Us. And she's saying, I sent you the pitch. I wanted your thoughts. And then Ellie is like, oh, yeah, the pitch. Oh, yeah, I definitely read it. And then she's like, making small talk, trying to put it off as she, clearly did not read the pitch from the email that was sent from her actress or her agent. And then there's an option at the top of the email that says summarize. And it's like essentially AI technology summarizing the pitch email and giving her a generated summary of what was in the email. And then she starts reading this off, like whatever the AI suggests for her, essentially cheating and not doing her job and not, doing what's being asked of her. And honestly, kind of belittling the agent because she's like, oh, you read this? And then she's like, oh, yeah, I did read it. Wink, wink. Not really reading it, but kind of faking it till you make it type of thing. Not very respectful, not very professional. Apple clearly doesn't care, right? They want to kind of set you off on a bad example to, you don't got to read your emails. You just got to hit summarize at the top, and the AI will think of something for you to say to buy you some time. Click it and then read this, and then you'll be covered. Pretty silly, I'll be honest. Pretty silly, pretty uninspired, and not really something that you want to be putting out there to the public, because it just encourages for them to cheat and to not put any effort into what's supposed to be important to them. Like Bella Ramsey, that's who it is the actress who plays Ellie, and that's the actress who's playing herself in this commercial. Not a very good example of a hardworking actress. Like, I'm pretty sure that she, for one, is going to be reading all the pitches that she gets because she's making mindful decisions about her career, which is acting. And it's kind of weird when you are, a company promoting, cheating and like Cliff Note type of stuff into someone's profession who is acting and making decisions to make herself money and to be put into good movies or projects that she likes. I don't know. I thought that was just kind of weird that they went that route, essentially promoting cheating, cheating at your job and getting away with it. Essentially, she straight up fooled her agent in the commercial. Quite sad. The agent did her part in getting her a studio or a writer to send her a pitch that they want her to be in the movie, and the agent did her part. And we now shift to the actress Bella Ramsey portraying not doing her part. Kind of unfair, It's like not doing your part in the project, but still getting an A, kind of type of thing, I don't know. It's just kind of weird. Again, I've said this before in previous episodes, but the promotion of laziness is getting a little out of hand. It's getting out of hand. And it's like almost in every single thing that we see now is now being given a shortcut or an easier way to do a task sooner or later, like I said before, we won't be doing our own tasks. Robots and artificial intelligence will be doing our tasks. And we will have no fulfillment, no sense of accomplishment, and no gratification, no appreciation, no accomplishment, and no success. Like, our own success is slipping away, and it's quite sad. Not to be like super, down, not to be super negative about this, but let's be honest, man. It's happening more and more every day. It's actually quite insane. But you can do things every day to make yourself feel accomplished. One thing that I do is I go to the gym. I work out. I make it a ritual, a task, a mission that must be completed every day. That I go to the gym and I work out extremely hard and push my body and put my body through physical struggle. And that could be also mental struggle. Let's be honest. When you're exercising, yes, you're straining yourself physically. You can get tired. Muscles get tired. Legs get tired. Arms get tired. Back gets tired. Abs get tired. Parts of your body get tired. But it's also the mentals that creep in. Like, I will have many, many times where I'm on the treadmill and I'm like not physically tired, right? Like, my legs aren't cramping. I'm not having any trouble breathing. I'm not getting any like cramps or side cramps or like out of breath. I'm not thirsty. I'm well hydrated. But a thought slips into my mind every now and then. And it's usually like, because I go for an hour on the treadmill, it's usually like around the 50-minute mark. And I look at how much calories I burned, and I'm like, oh, cool. I mean, this is quite a bit of calories. What did I eat today? What do I plan to eat? I could probably just go home. I could just get off the treadmill right now and be like, this was good enough. This is fine. I'll be okay. This is not going to kill me. This is not even as bad as I think. I'll just quit and go home for the day. It's kind of later in the day. I'm a little tired. It's been a long day. And you want to go watch the game. You want to go watch football. You want to go relax. You want to go shower and chill. Sit on the couch and relax. That pops in so many times when I'm at the gym. But what do? For the most part, I continue my workout and I complete my workout. And I'm like, you know what? It would be nice to go home right now. It'd be nice. It'd be cool. But that if I do that, and I have done that before, it doesn't sit well with me when I do that. I've only done it a few times. Very, very, very little times. Very few times. But I have done it before. And it's not a good feeling in my heart, in my mind, in my soul. Because I know that I could have finished. And that there was no reason for me to stop, no reason for me to quit, no reason for me to call it short or cut it short. And that the pain and the wanting to not continue it will ultimately go away as soon as I complete my mission and I do the full hour. And I feel like, honestly, when you have that feeling that you quit on yourself and you didn't give the effort, it is much worse than the tiredness and the mental fatigue that you are feeling at the 50-minute mark when you got 10 more minutes left. Truly is. I didn't think that would be, if I'm being honest. I thought it would be like just like a minor thing that I would just get over it and, better next day. But it makes you want to be even better the next day than you have to be, or try a little harder, or you feel a little guilty for not finishing your workout, like I do every time. I'll go home, and if I cut it short, I'll be like, I'll hate myself. I'll be like, I quit. I was being a bitch. I let my mind get the better of me. I truly, truly did. And I wrestled with it. I wrestled with it for, the rest of the day. I'll be in the shower, like, I could have stayed a little bit longer, and I would have earned this shower. And I'll be on the couch like, I didn't earn this. Or I'll be eating, dinner. I'll be like, I didn't earn any of this. Now, is that mental illness? Is that weird? Is that strange? Is that weird behavior? Is it being too critical of myself? Is it being too hard on myself? What is that? I have no idea what that is. I'm not a shrink. But I do know that when I do complete workouts, when I finish to the end, when I give it my maximum effort, where I truly believe that I earned it, I feel so much better. So much better. Mentally and physically. I don't know. But I think that's with everybody that I know who works out, who goes to the gym, who gives it their all, who tries very hard. Like I said, I've been going to the gym for a long, long time. Since last April, I'm still going on almost an everyday basis. And I've lost a lot of weight. I really have. But, I haven't lost my motivation. And there's a lot of people that have not lost their motivation and that are sticking with it. People that I've never seen before at the gym. Try it out. Continue it and be consistent. They get results and they keep on going. It's very, very good. It's very good. My mom and my sister, they go to a gym too. And they've been very consistent. They like it. They feel better every time. They made it a routine and they're sticking to it. It's amazing. It's great to see when people actually, make that jump to, fitness and trying to be healthier and losing weight and getting stronger. It's a great thing to see. Fantastic. I don't really have any complaints about the gym at all. But I do want to say something that was... I do want to talk about something that was actually surprising to me. I mean, super surprising in the most terrible way possible. No, nobody was being, rude. Nobody was making a scene. This is very subtle, but it was subtle in like the worst way possible. I mean, very, very subtle and weird and just bad. I was on the treadmill and, no one to my right, nobody to my left, right? And then this guy comes up to me on my left, just a guy on the treadmill, getting a workout in. Yeah, he had his headphones on. He had not just any headphones, by the way. He had AirPods Pro Maxes. So the earmuff ones, the $550 ones, to be exact. He was going up, about his day, going on the treadmill, walking, putting in some time. He started walking, and I noticed a smell. It was not a good smell. It wasn't BO. It wasn't sweat. It was shit. I smelled shit. And I'm not going to overreact while I'm at the gym and make a scene like a PU. I'm not going to plug my nose. I'm not going to leave that treadmill and go to a different one because the smell was bad. I mean, it was really bad. It almost got to the point where I was like not wanting to breathe that much because it was starting to really stink, like bad. And when somebody smells, right? Like you don't want to point it out. You don't want to point it out. And he left like within 15 minutes, he left the machine. He left the treadmill. He went somewhere else. I don't know where he went, but he went. And at that point, I was like, in my mind, like, is it him? Is it him? Was it him? And then after like a minute of him gone, there's someone to my right, but midway while he was there, somebody in front of me too, and the smell was gone. And I was just like, oh boy. Sometimes you can't smell yourself. And when the person that smells you while you cannot smell yourself, when that person leaves and you are able to figure it out that it was actually him that smelled because the smell went away as soon as he left, you kind of feel bad for him. And I felt bad for him because he smelled like hot shit. And walking around a gym where there's fans and the AC is cranked up, there's air circulating like crazy, people are going to smell it as he passes by. As he is walking by somebody, whomever, they're gonna pick up that stench, and they're gonna smell it. They're like, ew, it's always uncomfortable. It really is uncomfortable. You don't want to ever point it out because then that's just rude, but also it will probably destroy that person. Like, oh, you smell like shit. Like, what the hell is wrong with you? Truly, what the hell is wrong with you? Why the hell do you smell like shit? You should not ever smell like shit. Ever. You could not live with yourself if you smelled that bad. I always think that when there's people in public places, not just at gyms, but at a store, at a restaurant, even outside, outdoors, right? You can still get whiffs. You can still smell how bad somebody smells. You should be penalized if you smell that bad in public, within other people's range of scent, and you're making them smell you and be discomforted. It should be penalized. Like, you, sir, you smell too bad. You stink. And you have caused other people to voice their discomfort. Somebody fainted, somebody threw up. You will be penalized in the court of law for smelling too bad. I actually would be in all favor for that. I don't think that it is okay for anybody to walk around in public spaces smelling bad. I really don't. It's disgusting. It's not just, disgusting, but it's an indicator of poor personal hygiene, which is a big no-no. I don't think that you should have that poor personal hygiene and be able to roam free on the streets, in public places like a mall, whatever it may be, and smell that bad. It truly is something that has always baffled me. Like, the smell would be terrible. And there's been worse people. In stores, I have literally been near people that smelled so bad, you can smell them like 10 feet away. And then you're like, what in the hell is going on here? And then you kind of like, you pinpoint the person, you're like, what the fuck? You're confused. You yourself are just so, you cannot believe what you are seeing, what you're smelling. And then you're trying to think and be like, can he smell himself? Like, he smells terrible. He should not be smelling this bad. This is a biohazard, I don't actually know if being smelly is a biohazard, but it probably could be if you really think about it. Like, if the guy really does smell like hot shit, he could be potentially a biohazard. So I don't think that we should be sugarcoating, oh, he smells, it's not that. Yes, it is that bad. Yes, it is. It is disturbing my peace. It is making me nauseous. It's making me not want to be in this area. And I don't want to have that be a part of my day or how I feel about this. So it should be penalized. You must smell good in order to function in these societies. At least that's what I think. I mean, I think that everybody likes when people smell good. You know, it's nice. It's pleasant. It is soothing. It is like, comforting. I don't have to be on my guard when if somebody's gonna smell bad. You know? When you see a guy walk into a building, an establishment, and you can just see him like, oh, this guy's very, very unkept. He looks messy. He looks like he hasn't showered in a while. What is he wearing? You can see the flakes in his head. And you're like, I better hold my breath as soon as I walk by this guy because I do not want to get a whiff of what this man smells like. I really, really don't. And I've had that happen to me a lot. I'm very cautious about smells. I'm very safe when it comes to other people's aromas. Like if I can get a pretty good read on people. Like if I can see that, oh, you look terrible, I'm going to hold my breath. I don't care. And I won't make it like noticeable, but I will not breathe. And there has been times where I'm like, I'm just like, I'm not prepared. I haven't hyperventilated. My lungs are not at full capacity, but I'm going to not breathe in because I do not want to be ambushed. I don't want my senses to be ambushed by whatever you're going to smell like, and I know it's not good. I know you don't smell like roses. I know you don't smell like a nice smelling perfume or cologne. I know it. I can see it in you. You look like you smell terrible. So I'll just not breathe. And I will go, a good 5 seconds of passing somebody and making sure that I'm out of their slipstream, jet stream, whatever the wind is when you pass somebody, and then breathe. And then I'll take a breath, and then I'll inhale like, oh my God. Even when someone's gonna pass me, and I'm not, if I'm walking slower or I'm stationary and they're gonna pass me by, I will hold my breath and hope to God that I don't catch whatever the hell he smells like. It's happened, man. I can't be the only person that also does this too. Living in that fear, man. There's always a fear that people smell. You can just tell. You can tell by the way that they present themselves if they smell or not. It could be a big misjudge of character. It could be. But it's a risk that I'm willing to take because, one, I'm not harming anybody. You don't really know that I'm not breathing in, that I'm not inhaling your stench, that I'm just not, I'm not like taking a big breath in and holding my breath and making it noticeable. I'm just not breathing. And I'll be like, yep. And then just pray to God that I have the lung capacity to withstand either me walking by you or you walking by me. And then, hope and pray that when I do breathe in, I don't get a bad smell. It's something that I don't think is a super, super weird thing to do, but also for me, I view it more as I'm very cautious with what I breathe in and the smells that I intake. It just goes to show that, you can never be too careful with the way people smell because you're out in the world for this long, public places, you're just like, I want to get through this without any issues. I don't want to get beat up and I don't want to be ambushed by anybody that reeks like shit, And just imagine me, poor me in the situation at the gym. I am basically doing a thing where I have to breathe all the time. Treadmill, cardio, heavy breathing, and there's nothing I can do but stop. I mean, there's nothing I could do to stop it. I'm not going to get off and be like, you smell, see ya. I'm out of here. I can't with this guy. I would never do that because that would probably cause him to feel sorry, him to feel embarrassed, him to feel threatened, him to fight me. I don't know. It's just crazy. I actually started watching The Penguin, the Batman spin-off show starring Colin Farrell as the Penguin. I have to say, I'm like about maybe close to halfway through the first episode, and I really like it. I really like it. I think that Colin Farrell as the Penguin is just tremendous in that role. I've said this before in the past, when I saw the Batman and then when I talked about it after I rewatched it. The Penguin was my favorite part of the Batman, just because he was an interesting character. He was like a mob boss. He was intimidating. He was, always brought a good performance onto the screen. Like, oh yeah, I want to see more of this guy in a movie, TV show, whatever the hell it might be. And then finally came to watching it. Like I said, I'm not even halfway through the first episode, but I like what I'm seeing. It's like a crime story, a little bit of a mob story. It's a drama. It's like a grittier drama. It's realistic. There's like cursing and, heavy, strong language. And I'm just like, oh yeah, this is pretty good. There's no sighting at all of Robert Pattinson's Batman, which I'm thrilled because I didn't like that part of the movie whatsoever. It's just been Colin Farrell for pretty much the entire show. I'm like, oh yeah, I can dig this. I'm really enjoying it. I think that if you were on the fence about watching The Penguin because you were not a fan of the Batman, I can assure you that you won't have the same problems as you did in the Batman like I did with the Penguin. I truly think that if you go into this and you're like, didn't like the Batman all that much, but we'll give it a shot, you might be in for something that you'll enjoy. You might be. You could always not like it, though. You can always be like, well, I didn't like any of the Batman, even Colin Farrell, and I still don't like it. Hey, that's you. That's cool. That's fine. But, right now, as I'm watching it, I'm like, this show is pretty sick. I ain't gonna lie. You know what? It's also really sick, though, which I was kind of surprised about how much I actually enjoyed it, was the new Space Marine game. In fact, it's called Warhammer 40K Space Marine 2. That's the entire name of the game. I just call it Space Marine 2. But, talk about a game that is no nonsense. This game is one of the funner, most badass games that I've played within the last year. Like one of the newer games that has come out in 2024 that is so badass and so cool and violent and intense and, just, it's no funny business, this game. It is all, it's just amazing. It really is. I've never played Warhammer in my entire life, right? These big guys in these, metal suits, they're called Space Marines, and they fight off these alien invaders that have, invaded several planets in their world or their galaxy, and they're trying to kill them at all costs, and they're like these savage alien beasts that'll rip you apart and just kill you at will. And then these Space Marines are just like the strongest force that humanity has to fight off these aliens, and you just have to, put all your shit aside and just fight. And that's what the game is, and let me tell you, man, it is so fun, so addicting, so badass. I feel so satisfied playing this game with the executions of the aliens and just like the badass and toughness that this game just emits from itself, And like I said, I've never played Warhammer in my entire life. I just knew that it was a game, and that was all. I started playing it, and I'm like, holy shit. And I know the other games are not like this at all. Most of them are not. Most of them are like, nerdy type games, like strategy type of, MMO, tabletop games. It's a very, 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 very nerdy franchise. But for some reason, like, this version was made by a complete Chad. And I'm just like, I love it. I love it so much. And I was like, I loved it like within 5 minutes of the game. From the opening cutscene to the opening mission, I'm like, oh yeah, dude, this shit is tight. Like, this shit is not. I said this as soon as I started playing. The seriousness, the fact that this is, do or die type scenario. Like, we ain't here to fuck around. Like, this game did not fuck around one time, and I was just like, holy fuck. This is my kind of game. This is a game that should be played by so many people, and I think will be eventually, and they'll be like, yeah, dude, this game is just badass. Like, it really is just badass. I don't care if like you're a fan of like shooters or open world or first person or third person or like, MMOs. Like, this game, Warhammer 40K Space Marine 2, is the shit. It just is. Plain and simple. Like, there really is no getting around it, and it seems to be like universally loved throughout like the gaming community. Like, it is being held as one of like the best games to come out in the past few years. Just being the game that everybody's talking about right now, and I'm enjoying it, and I see why everybody has been liking it, So I'm super happy with the purchase that I made. I'll be honest, because I was on the fence about buying this game because I didn't really know what to expect. My friends were saying, you got to get it. You got to try it out. I'm like, is it really for me? What about the longevity? I haven't bought a game like this in a long time, like a full price game. Me and my brother split it so we can game share it. And I was like, yep, this is 100% worth it. And I'm so happy that I actually have it, because this is a game that they don't really make as much as like they used to. An old school game with a campaign being like at the helm. And this is what we're made of. This is what we're pushing, is the campaign and then the co-op. Usually nowadays games are just pushed on multiplayer, PvP, cosmetics, battle passes, all that hippy dippy bullshit that I just don't give a fuck anymore. Just give me a game with some substance, some purpose, and a feeling that I want to keep playing again and again and again. And that's what Space Marine 2 truly has tapped back in to modern day gaming. If you think about it, did not launch with DLC. Did not launch with a battle pass, just launched with its strong suit, campaign and co-op. There's also multiplayer, which I have not played yet, but I'll dabble into it. But right now, what I can tell, what I can see from this game is that its strong suit is its campaign / its co-op, which is story driven and not necessarily not even PvP, And that's what I miss about games. Is where they can take you on an adventure and an escapism that you can have with a select amount of friends, like in co-op, and be able to have tremendous fun. Like, tremendous fun. Like, I mean, it's just, to me, one of the best games of the year so far for me. I'll be honest, if I'm being completely honest, And to me, not a game on my radar whatsoever. Like, I saw a little bit about it before, and I'm like, it's kind of like Gears of War. Wasn't a big fan of Gears of War. Maybe I'll try this out. And I was like, kept hearing my friends say, it's really good. It's awesome. You should really get it. So I got it. And now, honestly, it's kind of making me want to go back and give Gears of War a shot. Because of how violent and how fun and just how satisfying this game is. I remember from what I tried with Gears of War that it's kind of like that. And that, oh yeah, this would be freaking sick to play with my friends. Like, this game is like, at the moment, is the well of entertainment with this game almost seems a little bottomless at the moment, where we could just play campaign / co-op missions and just have a ton of fun, So, safe to say, I am super impressed with Warhammer 40K Space Marine 2. I ain't gonna lie. It actually, I was actually, when I was playing, I'm like, oh shit. Oh hell. This might be it. They got me on this one. Okay, moving on. Last but not least, a little bit of NFL talk. Week 3 is concluded. Already week 3. A lot to talk about. A lot to overanalyze, overreact to. A lot to forecast. And a lot to really look at and see what we're looking at. And I think that there's a lot of stories out there in places where I never thought that there would be. Like, for instance, the Vikings being 3-0 with Sam Darnold as their starting quarterback. The Pittsburgh Steelers being 3-0 with Justin Fields as their starting quarterback. Not even just looking at starting quarterbacks, but the Seahawks are 3-0. I mean, the Patriots won. The Giants won. It's actually, kind of crazy. The Bills are 3-0, leading of the AFC West. Like I said, the Steelers, Chiefs 3-0. Kind of obviously, I think we thought about that. I didn't think that they would, be that bad. I mean, they haven't played the best football. Nonetheless, they are 3-0. But then again, they weren't playing the best football last year, and then they ended up winning the Super Bowl. So what do I even know, right? What do I know about anything? The Commanders are leading the NFC East. The Cowboys are at the bottom of their division. The New Orleans Saints are leading the NFC South. The Panthers got a win. And the Rams beat the 49ers. The Rams beat the 49ers. I think that's where I'll start. This week's NFL talk. I was actually extremely, extremely proud and excited for what's ahead with my Los Angeles Rams. Because we beat the 49ers. Yes, I know we didn't have that many players, but neither did they. And we were able to pull out a win with key players like Kyron Williams and Tutu Atwell, just leaning on those guys, led by Matthew Stafford, not backing down in the moment. And listen, I gotta say, man, I mean, I know that the Niners did not have Debo, and they did not have Christian McCaffrey, they did not have George Kittle, but they had Juwan Jennings, who was breaking us open, making us look like fools. And the way that we responded and were able to manage the game, and I think Sean McVay called a fantastic game in that situation. To get that win, man, it was incredible. But I will say this, man. Even though he was down a lot of players and down a lot of playmakers, Brock Purdy and the 49ers, man, but mainly Brock Purdy. Oh, man, that guy was tough to play against. I mean, he was tough to catch. He had so much time in the pocket. He was making me so nervous. And it shows after this game, even though they lost, we have to put, and everybody's going to have to put a ton of pressure on that guy, because that guy looked way too comfortable without his weapons, with the pocket breaking down, just being able to scramble, make some time, and make some pretty big throws in those situations. I mean, that to me was solidifying performance. This guy is not nervous. This guy is mature, and he knows when to make the right decision in terms of throwing the football. And I was like, dude, he ain't got nobody, and he's still this calm. And he's still making the throws. I know that I don't like the 49ers, but I have to give them respect for that, because Brock Purdy has really come a long way, and it showed me that this guy really does belong in the NFL amongst these big-time quarterbacks. I'll take the win. I love the win, but I mean, we have to watch out for this guy. The whole league needs to watch out for Brock Purdy because he's way, way, way better than we give him credit for. Let's be honest. Let me see. Notable games that happened across the league. The Vikings destroy the Texans. I mean, I had Sam Darnold on my fantasy football bench, and I was in pain watching that game. That was the early game, and I was just seeing Sam Darnold light up the Texans, and I was like, no way. I cannot believe it. And I had to pray to God that Jared Goff was going to play well, and he kind of did for the first half, and then he just did not the second half, and I was like, oh my God. Just a mixed bag of emotions and feels, when it comes to my fantasy team and how my players are doing. And, Sam Darnold is just, he's having a great start to the season. 3-0, starting quarterback for the Vikings. I mean, it's just kind of crazy that, after this being his 7th year in the league, and he's having this type of season right now. I mean, you almost kind of feel like, damn, this dude deserves it. Like, this dude really has fought, was a journeyman. He was everywhere. I mean, he was at the Jets, he was at the Panthers, the 49ers, and now there might have been a couple more teams in that career, and now the Vikings. Like, I mean, like, he has really stuck to it and like found like what it seems to be like with only 3 games played, like a home in a way. I know that their plan was to have J.J. McCarthy be the starting quarterback because he was like a first-round draft pick. But you should really look at what you got with Sam Darnold and be like, what do we do here now? If he continues this trajectory and only gets better and better, then the Vikings have a real decision that they got to make, when it comes to who's going to be our starting quarterback moving forward. That was a big takeaway. The Eagles beating the Saints, to me, was another big takeaway of this past week. Having lost to the Falcons the way that they did last week or 2 weeks ago, then coming back and beating the Saints, essentially coming back and beating the Saints in the fourth quarter was what they needed. Like, the Eagles needed that win. They had to have it. You can't, the offenses were stalling the entire game, and they couldn't get anything going throughout the entire game. They kind of, banded together and scored in the last quarter to win the game. But, the way that they gave up the Falcons game, they had to get that out of their mouth. How they were so close with Saquon. If he caught that ball and ran it for the touchdown, they probably would have won that game. They did not, and then Saquon came back and scored a touchdown against the Saints. I think he scored 2, actually, and then was just like, they needed that win just to keep the morale and the season, alive, essentially. The Packers beat the Titans 30-14. That actually kind of, surprised me because the Packers don't have their starting quarterback. They have Malik Willis. Jordan Love is still injured, and they're still finding ways to win games comfortably with, Malik Willis, who hadn't really had a whole lot of NFL action coming into week 2 last week and 2 weeks ago, and then week 3 last week. Not a whole lot of NFL action. So you're thinking, are they going to be able to compete? What are they going to do? And they've been just winning games. The past 2 games with Malik Willis and being like, yo, we would like Jordan Love back. He's our starting quarterback, but we know how to coach our boys. We're going to get Malik Willis prepared to perform and to help us win this game. That's what they've been doing. Panthers beat the Raiders 36-22. This is, in a way, I know that they benched Bryce Young. The Panthers started Andy Dalton. I understand that, but I don't care, man. If you're the Raiders, you got to beat the worst team in the NFL at that point, and that is the Carolina Panthers, and they did not. They got beat pretty good by the Panthers. You can't let that happen. I don't care if it's, Peyton Manning coming out of retirement. You cannot let that happen. But then again, maybe it was Bryce Young. Maybe Bryce Young was just like not really bad and holding them back. And now you put in a quarterback that could, see over the offensive line a little bit more. And you got some, maybe that was the key. And then, Andy Dalton looks like he's, an elite quarterback because, also maybe the team believes in him more than Bryce Young. And they see that and they're like, oh, yeah, this is how we should have been performing. And we couldn't do that with Bryce Young. Now we got Andy Dalton. Now it's a new mojo. Now we got something now. So that was also insane. The Ravens beat the Cowboys 28-25. The Cowboys, again, look like they just don't really know how to play together. They don't really know how to play as a team. They get behind quite a bit. They were coming back. The Ravens almost blew that game, let's be honest. But the fact that they were able to get that far behind in the first half and into the third quarter was like I honestly insane, because we have always said that Dallas has a really, really, really good team, right? But they're not winning their games that they should be winning, right? They lost to the Ravens, and then they lost to the who did they just play? Who did they play? Let me see. The Saints. They lost to the Saints 44-19 in week 2. So like they have a team that should be performing on paper, but for some reason in the games just does not perform well, And it's just like, it's so misleading. You look at it and you're like, these guys should win all the time. What's going on? And then they don't win. It's like, maybe it's the coaching. Speaking of coaching, maybe there needs to be a change at the head coach's helm when it comes to Jacksonville. Because the Monday night game between the Bills and the Jaguars, let's just say I'm so glad that there was another game going on between the Bengals and the Commanders. That was a much better and more closer and entertaining game than the Bills and the Jaguars. That game was not even competitive. It was just not good and terrible to watch. Like, if that was the only Monday night game, that would have been a terrible, terrible game. Poor viewership, poor everything, just bad. Terrible, I think that the Jacksonville Jaguars are pretty much out of time when looking at the team that they have, which is pretty talented. Trevor Lawrence, Travis Etienne, Joshua Hines-Allen, Gabe Davis. They got playmakers. Christian Kirk. They got some, like I said, they got good playmakers. But it might be a time to change maybe the coach. Like, Doug Peterson has been there for a few years now. And every year it seems like we have high expectations, high aspirations, talented roster. But then when they play, it's like they don't even know how to play together. Like Trevor Lawrence looked terrible. They looked out of sync. And it happens week in and week out. Like, it's such a big struggle for them to even, create scoring drives or scoring plays or stringing together first downs or positive yard plays. It almost looks like it's impossible for them. Like, they just don't know how to do it. And that's not the player's fault. At that point, that's coaching. That's like, are you being, motivated and coached and taught the proper ways to play football with each other? And from what I can tell, from what I can see, that's not what's happening at all. So if I'm like the owner of the Jaguars and I'm like looking at this, I'm like, what's the issue here? What is the problem? Well, I'm thinking, and I'm just an outsider. I just like watching football. But it looks like it could be the coaches. Primarily, this is all going to fall under the head coach, Doug Peterson. So I've heard that the Jaguars are looking at Belichick for next season, possibly. I think that, with Belichick and that talented team in Jacksonville, that could be something that he might want to actually pursue, because maybe, just maybe, he gets his shot. He gets his chance with a really good, talented, on-paper team like the Jaguars. Maybe he can do something with that. I mean, it just seems like Doug Peterson's been giving a lot of time to figure it out in Jacksonville and just hasn't made any movement on it, hasn't made any progress. That's what I can see. When I look at that team, year after year, game after game, I don't see any progress being made on the development of any player. Trevor Lawrence, to me, as a quarterback, has just stalled out. He just makes the same mistakes, looks very uncomfortable, looks kind of confused with the offense. Looks like he just doesn't even know what to do, And the coaches can be like, it's a part of the process. We're working on it. We're trying, and it's we know what we're doing. We know what the issues are, but it's like, no, not really. We can see it. We can tell. It doesn't look very good. It really, really doesn't look very good at all. It's some of the worst football to watch on television is Jacksonville Jaguars football. Like, it just looks so discombobulated and unorganized, and they just don't even know what they're doing out there. It really is bad to watch. Like I said, thank God for the second game. That way we didn't have to watch the first one. I mean, Jesus Christ. Meanwhile, the Bills look like amazing. Josh Allen looks like the best quarterback in the league, possibly MVP. Actually, I would say like front-running MVP at the moment. And the Jaguars are just like free-falling. Like, they're in big, big trouble. Big trouble. And that's going to be it for me today, people. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Remember, you can find this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube at Intelligent Moron with Alex Silva. New episodes drop every Thursday morning. Make sure to like, subscribe, rate, review, and do all that good stuff. And yes, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching, and I will see you guys next week.